Hey guys, it's Raven. I don't know why this here is not coming out now. I need to see to. Okay, there we go. I don't know what happened. That was kind of crazy. It just for some reason it decided that it wasn't going to put me my face there. It's tried to put me as a little box on the bottom. But anyway, thank you very much to everybody that is joining us today. We're going to be talking today about Sunstone, and I've gathered a little bit of information here for us to get started. But before we get started, I wanted to show you, for those of you who may not know what Sunstone looks like, pretty much looks like this. It's kind of like an orangey rock. I wish I had a piece of, I'm doing this from home today. I was originally planning to do it from the store. Um, this is basically a piece of sunstone. If you can see here, there's a little bit of a shimmer at the very top because these here are pieces of copper. So depending on how you catch it in the light, it's going to reflect back, right? So the color is this kind of orangey, sometimes a little pink. It could be a little yellow. It could be a little orange. So all of those colors are possible with sunstone. I have a couple of other pieces here. This one has lots and lots of copper in it, as you can see. This one has a little bit. It has one here on the side that hopefully you'll be able to see as if I can capture it from the light. Boy, I really suck at this, don't I? Well, there it is. Hopefully you guys can see some of that. But so let's talk about the magic of sunstone, right? This is the time of the year that we normally look to start working with sunstone. We're looking at the summer time. Normally, the midsummer is the big Sabbath that people work with sunstone in. But there's kind of a misnomer in that that's really the only time. Really, sunstone is a crystal that's good for you to work with the entire summer. I actually work with it all the way down until we get to Mabon. So even if you're having the first harvest festival on September, if you're in August, if you're celebrating llamas, very appropriate to have sunstone on your altar. So month of July, month of August, generally by September is when I start kind of looking to other different crystals. But so let's talk about what sunstone is all about. So sunstone, first of all, was formed between 13 and 14 million years ago in our planet. And it forms in lava, which means it's an extrusive rock. It needs a lot of volcanic activity. So it's going to have that strong connection with the element of water, the element of fire, right? Not so much earth, because there's not a lot of pressure that goes on in order to form sunstone. So we're looking at primary elemental water from the lava flows and primary elemental fire also from the same thing. So it's going to have a little bit of kind of that boost, the kind of explosive energy to it. It is something that we call a feldspar, and it's a type of silicate, which means what feldspar means is that it's going to have two specific elements in its formula, or excuse me, three specific elements in its formula always. And that's going to be silicate, which is kind of like what we think of as glass, or, think of a quartz, clear quartz is pure silicate. You have silicates, you have oxygen, which is part of the silicates. Silicates is SiO4. So you have silicates, you have oxygen, and you have aluminum. So aluminum is going to bring in that ability to transmute and to move energy around. So when you're working with sunstone, because every single piece of feldspar is going to have some aluminum in its matrix, it's going to facilitate that moving energy through, moving past blockages, moving things out of the way. So sunstone is no exception to that. There's probably other crystals in the family that you are pretty familiar with. Granite, if you have a granite countertop, basically you are working with a piece of feldspar. Most granites are feldspars, most agros are feldspars. In terms of crystals that we normally associate with, larvacite, which is a type of granite. I actually have a larvacite countertop at home. It's probably one of the cheapest forms of granite you can get. So if you have that, what do they call it, ubatuba countertop, you have some larvacite sitting in your kitchen right now. So I cook on larvacite every single day. And it's going to have a little bit of that effect, which is going to be little pieces in it that reflect lights from here and the other, from one way to another, and is going to provide some kind of a visual effect. That's kind of one of the foundational things for a lot of different types of feldspars, right? Another crystal that's feldspar in that same family is going to be moonstone. Another one that you're probably familiar with is going to be labradorite, right? For different reasons, but those are all kind of in the same family. So you're looking at rocks that are extrusive, they're exploding rocks. They need lava and magma to form, and they do something with light, which means they're taking that light and they're moving it around, which means, it's very, you have the aluminum component of it is going to move energy for you. But what a lot of these crystals are going to have in common is they're going to allow you to see things from different perspectives. Depending on how you look at it, you have a different reflection. And so it's that movement of energy of being able to look at one thing and seeing it in the other way is one of the things that is going to be very uh, what do you call it, common amongst all feldspars. So that is an interesting thing. Let's see. So sunstone itself has two other names that you may see it under. One of them is called heolite, that you may see sunstone listed at, or it's called aventurescent feldspar, which basically means that it's got that aventurescence to it. So if you think about what aventurine is, that's where the word comes from. Aventurine is like when you have that green aventurine and you kind of look it in the light and there's little mica that sparkles back at you. That effect is called aventurescence. And if you look at it, this has a similar thing, except instead of tiny little particles of mica, what it has is sheets, tiny little particles or sheets of either hematite, goethite, or copper. And you know that copper is a very healing metal. So you have another healing component in here. If you're looking for a lot of the big sunstone, the bigger ones that come from the United States, they come from Oregon. And all sunstone from Oregon has copper in it instead of hematite. So if you're looking at a piece of sunstone from Oregon, you already know that it's going to have some copper in it. So that's kind of an interesting thing. So we talked about the colors of sunstone, how they can mimic, and the different colors that it can have. So let's talk about, now that we know a little bit about how sunstone is formed, a little bit about what's going on with it, what's all this shiny stuff in it, and some of its family and its cousins, and some of the basic things. Let's talk about some of the other things, right? So based on color, this crystal is always going to be working in our lower chakras. So you're always going to be using sunstone to work with the solar plexus, sacral, and root chakra, all three of them. Primarily, sunstone tends to stay within the solar plexus and sacral, kind of back and forth. It's that idea of creativity, of support, of personal. Oops, apparently my thing has disappeared. I hope you guys can still see me, because on my screen it seems to have disappeared. I don't know why that is. That's weird. Let's see. Okay, I'm back now. All right. Weird day. All that sunstone energy. So anyway, sunstone is basically going to be working within those, and it's doing it again. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't see it on my screen. It shows the screen that's showing to you. It says it's got a big R. So if it does, I apologize. I have no idea why it's doing that. So you're going to be working with those middle chakras, right? So it's always going to be good for, if you look at what those chakras do, it's going to be good for empowerment, for creativity, for authenticity, embracing the truth of who you are. So this is going to be a great helper crystal if you are down on yourself, if you have some self-loathing going on, if you're trying to do some recovery after you left an abusive relationship, if you need self-esteem, all of those things that you may need. This is going to be a big stone that's going to be helping you in that arena. So that is going to be one of the great stones to work with in that way. Now, if you look at the hardness of sunstone, it is between a 6 and 6.5, which means it falls. It's hard enough to be a very protective stone. So this is a stone you can use if you're going to walk in, have a speech in front of a bunch of people, nervous, all to a party or maybe a work function. There's a lot of people that you don't know, that you're not exactly sure who they are, why they're here, and you need kind of like that boost, but you also need to make sure that you feel protected in some way. So this is one of the things that sunstone is going to be very, very helpful with. So So that is in terms of the protection component. It is also going to protect you from having your creativity being taken away, to have your creativity being maybe copied by another person. So this is a great way that you can also add that protection in through the Sunstone. And it's still doing that. I'm just going to continue on and talking. So if you can't see me, hopefully you can still hear me. So the next thing we're going to talk about with Sunstone, the other thing is this is internal matrix, and Sunstone is a tricyclic stone, right? Excuse me, triclinic stone, which means that it's going to have three specific shapes that we look for in sacred geometry within the matrix of those stones. What's going to reason why it's important is because those shapes are going to shape energy as it's stored into the Sunstone. All that fire energy, all of that is going to be held in a specific geometric shape, and that shape is going to lend itself and kind of flavor that energy a little bit. So the first one is going to be a prismatic shape. And so when you're thinking about prism, anytime you're working with a prismatic shape in sacred geometry, we're looking at layers. We're looking at ethereal connection. We're looking at the planes. We're looking at something that connects to the higher self in some way. So this is why this is going to be a great stone for you to connect with for self-esteem, to find your own authenticity, because this basically helps you with that check-in, right? From here, I'm checking into who I am. What am I put on this earth to do? And you constantly do that check-in, and it's going to facilitate that because of that prismatic characteristic inside of its inner structure. The second thing that is going to contain within it is going to be a rectangular shape. And so a rectangular shape is kind of like, it can be a modification of the cubic shape. It just has elongated sides. And this is generally a shape that's associated with a divine masculine energy, which is where we get that Sunstone is all about masculine power, right? It's got that masculine energy in it. It comes from that particular shape. What's something else that shape is going to bring to this stone? It's going to bring some stability. It's going to bring some balance. It's going to bring this foundational energy, which is great for rebuilding yourself, for building your self-esteem, because it's going to be this energy of like, I am confident in who I am, and I have this solid rectangular foundation that nobody can shake. There's no imbalances there. It's a solid block, bam. And I can start building on something that is very solid on the bottom. So you're looking at a stone that's going to help you to balance if you're having emotions that bring you to low self-esteem, if you're having like these negative emotions, maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe I don't know enough, or if you have imposter syndrome, this is a great, great crystal for you to work with for that, right? So that rectangular shape within its matrix is going to bring that solidity, that foundation into the energy of the stone. And finally, the last shape that it contains within the stone is the dipyramid shape, which is basically, if you imagine two pyramids side by side with the backs in like this, right? I wish I had two pyramids with me, but I don't. I don't do a lot of work with pyramids. But this is all about, pyramid shapes are all about the movement of energy. So we're once again back to, it's got the aluminum in it, which means it's an energy mover. It's a great energy mover. And now you're going to have the dipyramid shape within it that's going to even enable that even more. The other thing that shape brings is a connection between the metaphysical, the physical, and the spiritual. It kind of bridges those planes together. So this is another reason why you want to look at walking in balance, right? So you don't want to be floating up here all the time, and you don't want to be down here all the time. You always want to be kind of walking in balance, and that dipyramid shape is going to help you to access that. It's going to help you to say, oh, what are the lessons that I'm learning physically here? How can I relate those back to my, soul purpose, to my higher self purpose, to all of this? So great crystal. And the reason why we work with it in the sun is because it does have a correspondence with the sun. And why do we connect sunstone with the sun? Because it requires light. It requires the sun for us to be able to see all of these different shapes and colors. If you're sitting in the dark and you're moving it around, you're not seeing squat, right? So you go out into the sun, you put the stone in the sun. So it has this benevolent relationship with the sun. So it's a great crystal to capture solar energy with. What I do every year is I didn't do it this year, but I do it every year except this year because it was raining so much and I didn't do it. But I put this very crystal here, this very piece of sunstone, nice little block. I put him up outside all day in the sun, and with the intent of collect me some of that beautiful solar energy from the summer solstice. And then you put it in a bag or put it in a box, and you can tap into that energy year round whenever you need that little pick me up, whenever you need that extra stamina, that extra, go getter energy. Think about all the things that divine masculine brings in: leadership, protection, hunting, like this need to go out there and to make your mark and to do something. All of those positive divine masculine traits are going to be encapsulated in this one little crystal. And this is why it's a strong association with the sun, because the sun is divine masculine. And when you're looking at midsummer, the sun is at the height of its power. So this is why you would capture that. But don't only use it for that, right? This stone has so much more to give. So if you are somebody who is trying to balance out your divine masculine energy, this is great. So what would that look like, right? So let's say you don't have enough divine masculine, which may mean that you are oversensitive, over nurturing. People walk all over you all the time. You don't stand up for yourself. You don't get up and go. You're just always content with what's given to you. You're unable to protect yourself or to protect others. All of that is a low end of the divine masculine energy. You want to boost that up. Sunstone's going to help you with that. If you have an over processed divine masculine energy about you, which means you're obnoxious, you're in everybody's face, you're controlling, you have a need to have everything done the way you want it done, you have a need to tell people all the time what to do with their lives and that they're wrong and that all of those things are going to come from an overactive divine masculine. Think of like those narcissistic traits, that arrogance that comes out. All of that is an unbalanced to the max divine masculine. So we all have divine masculine energy within us. I have it, you have it, everyone has it. And the goal of it is to make sure that it stays with us in a balanced way. And so this is what a crystal that can be a great help, like I said, not just in the summer, but throughout the whole year to kind of keep that in check. So it's really powerful when you're doing shadow work, when you're doing work to build your self-esteem, to find out, hey, I want to get to the core of who I am. Who am I outside of everybody else? Who is the person that exists here? What are the things that I like, instead of chasing after somebody to find out what they like? Whatever they like, I like it too. So this is, if you're trying to move away from that and find your mark and your piece of authenticity, then this is a great little crystal for you to start working with. If you're interested in the shop right now, we just got some beautifully stunning sunstone towers. We have them little like this and we have big ones like this. So just message us. You can message us on either Facebook or Instagram. Instagram's probably a little bit faster to say, hey, show me all your sunstone, and we'll show it to you. We have some sunstone bowls as well, which are great for doing rituals and ceremonies and things like that. So whatever it is that you're looking for, we got you covered. And I wish you much luck. And I hope that if you have not started working with sunstone yet, I hope that you will give it a try after this video and see how it fits for you, because each one of us is going to have a very different relationship with sunstone. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you again next month in The Witch's End. Take care. Bye-bye.